Shenanigans, shenanigans, shenanigans. Folks, I want to do this live. It's on Alberta independence, the APP, Alberta Prosperity Project. It's all about Jeffrey Rath and Thomas Lucas Chuck. Two individuals, one running an independence trying referendum according to the Alberta sovereignty law. Sorry, gotta be mobile. But according to Alberta laws of the Sovereignty Act, there's about 11 steps. Jeffrey gets 9 of them. Maybe he's trying to simplify it on behalf of the government to make it look all kosher, but there's a whole legal side to this too, and challenges in court along the way. And of course, a lawyer should know about, right? But of course, we're not going to disclose any of that. But I want to be clear here. Thomas Lucas Chuck is running another referendum question, waiting for the law to be ascended here in Alberta legislature. And when that's done, these two referendums, one is to force Albertans into Confederation forever, meaning there can never be independence. And it was funny when I looked at the reduction of signatures required for the signature drive. It was already insane, and then it went down substantially, and Danielle Smith told you all, wow, that's because it's to make it fair like California, even though it doesn't follow anything, as I proved to everybody on X. I did a whole space with Cal exit, way older than Alberta independence is California independence, okay? So there's a major group, their signature drive way bigger than Alberta's. Obviously, California's way bigger, but the requirements are much less. But Danielle Smith reducing the signature drive was not for the Alberta separatists. It's for those wishing to remain in Canada. And that is the other referendum that can easily be achieved by just Alberta's numbered treaty Indians alone. And that's why it's put there. It's put there for them to shut down Alberta independence. Now, what's really good on X and what Jeffrey goes into is the 9 steps of just getting to the point of an Alberta referendum. Lots of jargon there. I was actually happy that he put in, at least in the steps, how Elections Canada and the chief electoral officers are involved. And then what he doesn't go into, and it couldn't possibly be because he's a lawyer and all the money he's going to make on behalf of his client he's already filed for, but it couldn't possibly be the fact that there's actually 11 steps, 2 possible court challenges, from Elections Alberta to the Superior Court of Alberta. Big bucks for those running the referendum, which means Albertans got to pay. Then there's another challenge, if even that, you can go to the Supreme Court. Just to get a referendum could take as long, if they want to hear it, as 14 years just to do the referendum. That doesn't even mean the Premier and the whole system of Canada is even being included in this ideal thinking. And I watch Fox News going to, there's a legal path to independence. Oh yeah? In the domestic side of Canada or the province of Alberta? Really? Because the highest laws of Alberta and every other province and territory say no, absolutely not. All you have to do is read the amendment to the federal constitution known as the inception date of any province or territory. I've talked about this to extent. It's funny that no lawyer in Canada can show this to you, even though these are the highest laws of the provinces and territories, known as Executive Powers Acts, or the act of said province or territory for the Confederation into the Dominion of Canada, the country. Somehow they can't tell you about any of those highest laws and what's said there, and what it fails to disclose to you, that in turn it goes to the federal government, specifically the Prime Minister and the Governor General of Canada, who's appointed by Prime Minister, then appoints all the Lieutenant Governors and Territorial Commissioners. They fail to disclose that to you. You think that would be the number one thing they would tell you about all of this? The boat and the canoe. This is the major human rights violation of Canada. It's what's absolutely wrong. It's a disease of Canada. It's about the Crown of Canada. And then it's a chief system created by the Crown of Canada to make a chief system in the Crown of Canada. They're fused. That is the boat and the canoe. All the Indians are drowning in the water, and so are all the settlers. They're drowning in the water. There's no boat and no canoe for you. The world and human rights ended this since 1946. He said countries can't operate like this anymore in the world. These are human rights violators. What do I mean by that? Well, it's slavery, subjugation, or it's defining people as savage, as you know, restricting people to an obscene less amount of land, taking away all their rights to self-determination, self-government, and self-sustaining practices, meaning we won't let you have specific companies or organize your own, farming or commerce or any of that. We can't let you have any of that because you're not human beings. That's what Canada does with the Indian Act. Now the chiefs are doing well. Obviously, all Canadian politicians elected and appointed are doing very well. But for the reserve Indian and the average Canadian, not so well. And of course, the reserve Indian has it far, far harder and worse than the average Canadian, because there's no ability, again, in any real self-determination or self-governing system or self-sustaining system. Like I said, I'm in Bowmanville here, a small town, okay, in just in the radius of the GTA. I guess it's outside, but very close. I'm within 30 minutes to Toronto. But imagine putting a fence around this town, shutting down all the businesses and saying you're only allowed to operate federally approved businesses, tobacco, gaming, anything in relation to the federal government's powers, meaning the giant list in 92 of all the other corporations you're forbidden from. You will sit here. If you leave, you give up all your rights. If you leave here. And this is why First Peoples continue on the reserve system in the hopes they'll get their full settlements, but they're never going to get them because the Crown doesn't want to. And with the chiefs that maintain their system, they get rewarded really well. Just like all the other Canadian politicians at every level of government under two crowns. There's a federal division and a provincial division, meaning all municipalities largely are through the provinces and territories themselves, the provincial crown. And they all work no different than the chief system for the betterment of the crown at the expense of the subjects. Do subjects have it better? I guess. They can be good little slaves and work hard, while the First Peoples can't. They're limited, extremely limited, meaning Section 92 all the way up to 143 are removed from them. Removed entirely. Very hard to make any kind of sustaining life. And then people run them down and say, look at these people. It's like, you really don't understand who the real savage evil is here. It's the Crown. And why it's allowed to continue and why the Allies don't turn on it like they did for 84 other countries in the world. Massive in Africa, but there's still some in Africa. There's less than 5 in Africa that remain a lot like Canada and continue on the same way. France, UK, Spain, Portugal are heavily invested in these. Denmark, Netherlands, they're in there a little bit. There's some island states, but they don't qualify as states. They're in territorial land, but protectorate land. And it's very sad that they're allowed to continue like this and nobody does anything about it. And of course, you have France and UK who protect all that because they still hold all of that. Now, these referendums, both of them, are likely to face stiff opposition, requiring all those involved to pay. And who really makes all the money here? It's already in the millions of dollars. Who's making all the money? The Crown, everyone loyal to the Crown, everyone sworn to the Crown. Lawyers, politicians, all those in that class. Like APP is a UCP civil society. It's their people who are getting rich off of the cuckoldability of Albertans, Canadians in Alberta. They're the ones who are being manipulated and getting suckered into an unviable process that's never going to work. Now, Jeffrey Rath, he gives you all the steps of just getting to the point of running the petition drive for the referendum. And then there's the other guy, Thomas, too, who happens to be running the exact opposite referendum. It's a race now. All are getting rich from the left to right of the Crown. Meanwhile, Canadians will never see any of the things they want, and specifically Albertans, and neither will First Peoples. They'll still be under the boot, the harsh boot on the neck of the people, all the people, whether they be defined under the Indian Act or under the constitutional acts of Canada. It's sad, it's horrible, it's a travesty, and so many are participating in it. I gave the international system because that was the only way to go. Anyone who believes, like Fox News saying, who doesn't know anything about Canadian laws, they chirp a lot, but they don't do any of the work. It's not real journalism. CNN and Fox heavily do this, but if you measure Fox versus CNN, which is, they're both geared, one's left or right, at least CNN on some respects will do the journalism. People say, why don't you share Fox News? Because I've found over and over again, they never do journalism. They do opinion news without doing any backup research or deep diving. They don't invest into it. And then they mislead people into narratives like there's a legal, non-violent path for independence in Alberta or all of Canada. It's like, if that was true, it would have been achieved by now. In U.S. states, referendums are done at the state level all the time. All the time. They don't seemingly happen in any of the provinces or territories at all. And even the Quebec question was not clear. There was nothing good about it. And now they give you a Clarity Act, another opinion from the Supreme Court that makes no sense at all with 50 steps in it. Just like Jeffrey Rath presents 9 steps of just going towards the petition. Never mind getting it approved or getting it done. And he doesn't even add all the legal hurdles and challenges thrown by Elections Alberta or the chief electoral officer. And that's really problematic because this leads to many, many years to achieve something, which means when you add up so much time, reasonable time, it's like prosecution, right? You have to prosecute people within a reasonable time. They say 2 years, so they throw it out. Well, this is going way over the realm of reasonable. When I read the Sovereignty Act amended, waiting for ascension, there is nothing reasonable or matched in the common law of Canada or the world for that matter. When I look at the rest of the world in what's called comparative law. And this is why Jeffrey Rath doesn't hold water for me. And I mean, people can believe what they want. This Thomas Lupischuk too, both of them don't hold any water to me. This is a scam, a game. It's all for Canadian suckers. That's really what it is. It's the Crown humiliating you, making fun of you, entertaining you. It's the old style emperor and the Roman hall, and everybody's in the pit or watching the pit fights, and they're in the stands and they're just playing to the Roman emperor's hand, right? And they laugh, thumbs up, thumb down, big drama. But this style, these empire systems need to fall. We need to move on as human beings from the old world order and try to evolve and grow. I know that's harder said than done. I know it's impossible in Canada, but it starts with truth. There's a ton of truth in this video that people need to share. You're being cucked, bamboozled, manipulated. If something takes 20, 30, 40 steps to achieve because your government's put all these hurdles in front of you, you've got to walk through broken glass, jump through a hula hoop on fire, jump, catch a parachute out of a burning plane, on and on. Well, you got broken glass in your feet. I mean, then do 200 one-arm push-ups, but you got broken glass and someone's throwing more broken glass down. It's made to be like that because it's supposed to not be achievable. It's their way of screwing you over, meaning it's not going to be real. And even Jeffrey leaves out critical stages just in getting the petition done. Both of these do it. What they're doing is collecting money from their willing cuckolds, First Nations and Canadians alike, filling their pockets and laughing all the way to the bank. So many have made so many rich, and yet they have nada to show for it. And now they've got both competing interests playing a game that, don't worry, this democracy is available to all of you. We're getting all of you a say. And don't worry, we've distracted you with something unachievable, so it makes it feel like you're getting somewhere, but the years are going to go on, things are going to be dragged out, and it's thrown away over and over and over again in Canadian history. The subjects, the savages, are here at the expense of the Crown. That includes a chief system and the Canadian political system. Elected or appointed. It will never change. You will always be at the receiving end of an ever increasingly downward slope. You look year after year, you're worth less and less, generation after generation, having to generate more and more, live worse and worse, while the politicians and their friends live better and better. It's an evil system, an age-old system that ends in absolute revolution by people, and it always ends up in the people in absolute dire straits. First Peoples have been in dire straits for a very long time. It's the longest running of its kind from the old empire system in the world, far outpacing the Germans and the Jews, far outpacing South Africa and apartheid. Both monarchical systems running the same scam as Canada has been. Canada's been running it before them, has run it all during their times, and is running it after. All we're talking about is scale. That's it. But over time, the scale gets harsh. It gets worse and worse. And there won't be long, I don't think, within a generation that reality will come to pass, because history shows us this. History shows that's what happens. Anyways, that's my video. People need to look at it. It's always meant to liquidate your pockets, make you believe that you're going to achieve something, but you can't. That's why I left the domestic system, because there's no hope. in the domestic Canadian legal system, provincially or federally. However, on the international system, there most certainly is since 1945. And again, nobody in Alberta, nobody in Quebec, nobody anywhere in Canada wants to pursue that. Why would that be? Why would lawyers not want to pursue the international way that has worked 84 times since World War II? Why would nobody want to pursue that? Because don't you go by success or failure? Every single failure followed some domestic system that ended up vetoed by somebody and resulted in nothing effectually happening except for people losing their lives, arrested, detained, all kinds of shit, liquidated, made illegal, made criminal. And then you look at the 84 successes since World War II. None of them were done domestically, not in any domestic legal system. They were all done under the United Nations Security Council. Again, the most recent was 2005, South Sudan. And Canada participated in that, specifically Edmonton and the GTA, Toronto. They participated in a large way in that. So if you're a Canadian and you're going to pursue these things, why wouldn't you pursue all the successes and say, hey, what did they do? What is it? How is it different than what I'm doing? Why am I pursuing a path that has failed in world history every single time? Why am I pursuing that? What does that tell me, right? Because I should be following history. What it tells you is you're in an autocratic, dictatorial system, and you're being called and cucked by the government. And any of these people who are very intelligent, they're great at articulating a lot of the steps, which I recognize, but they leave out crucial key pieces, and they refuse to look at any viable path that's proven to work since 1945. The only successes, 84 times. Why are they not pursuing that? Why are they pursuing paths that are impossible and have never worked out? Well, because they're crown sworn at the end of the day. They're loyal to that crown. They make their money via that oath and that allegiance to the crown. It's everything that's their practice or their licensing. It's everything they are. It's how they made their money. I don't know why Canadians don't want to wake up, but they choose not to. And this is for First Peoples or Canadians alike, because you're both in it. You're both in the water. You're not in the boat and the canoe. That's for the politicians and the chiefs. Not any of you. Not me, not you. That's my video. Tremendous amount of information there. Share, get it out there. Bye now.